Hello, 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 and welcome back. Welcome back to the channel, family. Give me just one moment here as we get ready to do this live. Hopefully, I won't be before you too long, but I just want to make sure that all systems are go before we begin. If you can hear me okay, just chime in the chat. Let me know. Chime in the chat if you can hear me okay. Okay, I'm going to share this, and I would ask that you all can share as well. If you have a moment, share this chat as well before we get started. This live, should I say, this live broadcast. Please do share it, and we will begin in just a moment. A very interesting topic that we are going to be dealing with today, especially for those of you who have young adults that you are trying to get prepared for the future. I don't believe enough of us are talking about these things. I don't believe enough of us are dealing with these things, especially if you are a home educator. Doesn't really matter if you're a home educator or if your children are in public or private school. This is going to be a very interesting topic. And so I've shared it. I want to get started with this. Take a sip of my very warm tea before I get into this. So I think many of us are kind of like living in the right now. Okay, just briefly, I am going to say hello to you all, and then I am going to put the image back up there. Oh, I'm not even in the camera. Okay, let me just scoot over just a little bit. Okay, so very briefly, I want to say good morning to everyone, and then I'm going to put the other image back on the camera so that I can just flow a whole lot better, right? If I need to take a tea break, I can do just that. Sometimes the image on the screen, the video on the screen can be a little distracting, and I don't want to do that. I want to focus on what we're going to be talking about this morning. Again, I am not sure how long I'm going to be before you today. How's the weather where you guys are? Is it kind of chilly today? I know here it's very chilly, very, very chilly. Okay. So let's get into this topic. All right. So the title of this broadcast, we're talking about the future. What does the future hold? Solution-based conversations for the next generation. For the next generation. So why am I saying for the next generation? Because I think a lot of us focus on us being here right now. We don't think about our children. We don't think about our grandchildren. We just think about the here and now and what we are doing and what we have going on. But we don't understand. I don't think some of us understand that 5 and 10 years from now, 20 years from now is going to look a whole lot different than it does right now. Many of us will be much older. Okay, we'll be much older. Some of us won't even be here. These are the things that we must think about. And so what does the future hold? So I think we need to start having more solution-based conversations for the next generation. If you love your young people, if you love your children, this is very important. Very important conversations that we need to have. Okay. Terrence Green says prepare for death. Okay, so basically, my response to that would be, yeah, partially right. That's for some, but not for all. If you're going to do that, just make sure that you know where you're going to spend eternity, right? Make sure you know where you're going to spend eternity. I believe that the handwriting is on the wall. And we need to start coming up with solution-based projects for our children. That's one of the things that we cover in our homeschool is solution-based things, looking at the direction of where things are headed, making sure that our younger generation, our children, our students know what they need to be thinking about. See, we can't think about how things were 20 years ago or how things are now and think that it's going to stay that way. We need to think about the future. And so I'm not going to get into any specific projects that we're working on, but they are definitely solution based because we want to know that our children are going to know and understand what they are facing in the future, both naturally and spiritually. This is what you need to sit your children down. I don't care how young they are either. A lot of times we think that you have to wait till they get a certain age before you start talking about certain things with them. That is not true. Arlene Foster, that is definitely one of the things that we are talking about. Arlene Foster says opening your own businesses. Right. And that's what I mean by solution-based. A project that we're working on right now, Kid Business College, a part of the Black Academy for Black homeschoolers or even those who want to supplement their education. That's a project that we're working on right now, teaching your children how to come up with solution-based businesses. Some of the projects that we're working on here are definitely geared towards those who are downsizing their lives. That's for sure. Downsizing. That's right. All praises to Yah says create multiple streams of income. That is absolutely right. That is one of the things that many people are talking about. Many people are talking about teaching or starting, should I say, multiple streams of income with, things online and offline. Okay. Because if online shuts down, what can you provide in your local region, your local community, right? Terrence Green says teaching children Spanish. I think that's a good idea too. I learned some Spanish decades ago. I'm not fluent in it, but I think that is a good direction to go in terms of teaching them other languages as well. Okay. But solution-based businesses or ideas for the future, keeping in mind that our young people, they're going to need some direction. Okay. They are going to need some direction. Don't sign your children up for La La Land. I see too much of that going on. Too many of our people are signing their children up for La La Land. They are going into the future thinking that things are going to be like it was 20 years ago, that they can keep buying $200 gym shoes, $300 jackets, living above their means. They need to be taught finances. I saw someone in the chat say that. Children need to be taught financing, budgeting, earning. They need to be taught all of these things, right? And guess what, parents? In the process of you teaching them these things, you are going to be learning as well. Many of the things that we teach our children are things that we are learning as well. Once you learn something, you pass that information on. For instance, there are certain aspects of gardening or growing food that we didn't always know. And so once we dive into it, once we get in the know, then now you pass that information on. All day, everyday preparedness says, just get busy doing something. There's extra money out there. We just got to go get it. I agree with that. And yes, we did. We got your message too the other day, all day, everyday preparedness. Good morning, sweetheart.
Good morning.
My husband just came into the studio here. His workshop is up the way there, but from time to time we visit each other. I'll go to his workshop. He'll come to the studio or whatever, and we'll converse with one another. But he looks prepared for today with that warm jacket or whatever this is he has on, and his cap and all of that. But anyway, what we're talking about here today, sweetheart, is what does the future hold? Solution-based conversations for the next generation, because a lot of people are not preparing their young people. They're not preparing their grandchildren, their children for the future. And so we've got to get into these conversations. What is it that you can have your young people study about? Okay, so one of the things that I think is very, very important. Okay, before I get into that, only in the chat says first aid, making fires, revive the green book. Okay, so I'm going to have to check into what the green book is. I saw a couple of people drop that in there. Okay, but I want to focus a little bit on a couple of the things that they just dropped there. First aid and making fires. And so we've gotten it down to a science here, y'all, in terms of making fires, because don't think that there's always going to be some type of fuel for you to heat your home. We have already migrated to using other means of heating. Okay. And so we have perfected the whole idea of getting a fire started. Our children know how to get fire started. They know what to do to build it up from the very beginning, to keep that thing blazing all day. Right. And we know about having seasoned wood on hand. Storing wood, keeping it dry. Other sources, some people use rocket stoves that don't require these really, really huge chunks of wood. Rocket stoves can be fueled by twigs, right? On this farm here, we look at everything that falls from the trees, everything that just gathers naturally. We look at that as a resource. We don't get rid of that stuff. So branches and twigs, trust and believe that we got piles of that stuff that we keep for future reserves for keeping us warm in the wintertime. Being able to keep as well. Leaves, we keep that. I will talk about this because a lot of us, these are children speak their native language. Okay, sewing. Okay. But with leaves, let me share this with you. There's a such thing as leaf bricks. Okay. Leaf bricks. This is where you get all these leaves. When you live on a large parcel of land, you're going to have a ton of leaves, right? And so what do you do with them? You don't bag them up and put them on the curb. You use that stuff, right? You munch it up. You use it in the garden. You can also use it to help start your fire. We've done that before. We will use our leaves to be a base for starting a fire in our wood burning stoves, right? Okay. A number of different things that you can use for starting a fire. The twigs, all of that. Any paper that you use that you're done with, old paper, shred that stuff up, use it as well. Okay. So solution-based things, whether you're going to be in the city, whether you're going to be in the country, it doesn't matter if you have a half an acre, 1 acre, 5 acres, 10, 20, 50, whatever it is you're going to live on. Make sure that you are coming up with solutions for survival. Some of these solution-based products that you can come up with in your homeschool with your children, getting ideas from everybody, right? You can at some point market them. We have a couple of projects that our young people, our students, I'm going to call them our students because that's what they are. They're our children, but they're also our students. But they have a couple of projects that they're working on where, and I'll just say this much. You either have a low end of this particular thing that they're working on, or a very expensive end of what they're working on already on the market. And so our idea and our thought with our students was that, why don't we develop something that will come up the middle? Because a lot of people can't afford the high end version of what I'm talking about, right? They can't afford it. But then the low end version of what I'm talking about is so chintzy that I can't see it doing too well for too long. We bought one of this particular items. I'm keeping it quiet for a reason, y'all, because it's a product that our children are working on. But we bought one of the low end versions and the high end versions just so that we could make a comparative analysis of how to rework it ourselves, how to create it ourselves. But it is a solution based product, right? So in your homeschool, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have small children. It doesn't matter if they're smaller children or teenage children or adult children. Regardless of what it is, there are things that you and your students can work on together. Okay? There are things that you can work on together. Our moderator, Cece, is apologizing for removing a couple of comments by mistake. Okay? She's apologizing for that because sometimes these gadgets, these phones and things don't always work the way that they are supposed to. So our apologies for that, because things happen. Okay. Things happen. So feel free to chime back in once that 300 seconds has expired for those of you who that happened to. Okay. But anyway, back into what we are talking about. Why is it important that we talk about these things? Because things are happening so fast. Can we all agree that things are happening really, really fast at this point? And we don't have time to twiddle our thumbs. We don't have time to twiddle our thumbs. We also don't have time for fear. Okay. A lot of times people think that when you are talking about these things, you're trying to invoke fear, and that's not the case. That's not the case. Okay. But what we need to be doing right now is, okay, what is an issue that we have? Okay, think about issues that you have and come up with ways to deal with it. Another thing that I'm going to throw out there, another nugget that I'm going to throw out there, and I actually saw this on another channel where this guy was growing, this Asian guy was growing watermelons, really big watermelons. And I said, okay, last year's drought did a number on different things that we were growing. That drought hit really hard, y'all. Okay, so this is something I've been doing for years, but I now see and understand why it was very important. So what I saw this Asian guy do, for those of you who are growing certain crops that require a lot of water, okay, he keeps his plastic containers. He keeps things, plastic containers, juice jars, water jugs, whatever. And he cuts the tops off of them. And inside of each container where he was growing his watermelons, he put the bottle down into the planter pot where his things were, and he filled it with kitchen scraps. Okay, filled it with kitchen scraps. Then he would pour water down into it, okay, and cover it back up with the other part of the bottle that he cut. So what that was doing is that was actually sending organic material through the water down into the soil where the watermelons were growing. Y'all hear what I'm saying? To the king's daughter who lives in Arizona, this is a good thing for you to consider as well. Anything that you have that you can put down into the soil, stuff it with organic material, kitchen scraps, whatever you can find, even other green material outside, just stuff it down in there and fill that up with water. When you fill that up with water, it's going to send all of those nutrients down into the dirt. Okay, and it's also going to be giving it water. And throughout the season, you just water inside of that. And that makes it too, so you don't have to have any other type of irrigation. You can direct the water exactly to where it needs to go. That's right. All praises to Yah. We have got to get creative, especially seeing that the future is looking kind of dry. Okay. Looking at the image on the screen, you see how lush and green things are. Okay. On the right side of the screen, things don't look like that. They do not look like that. They're starting to look very dry and dismal. That is what the future is looking like. That is what was prophesied. So do we wait till that happens? Or do we prepare for that now? We're getting all of our water catchments in place this year. Every building that you can catch water off, every shed, I don't care. Even the animals' areas. To give them water or have water readily available for our animals, we are going to be catching water off of their areas as well, so that right where they are, right where the animals are, there will be water reserves so that we can make sure that they have enough to drink as well whenever we catch rain. So here's the thing too, whenever you have water reserves, you have to get some goldfish, okay, to keep down the mosquito population. Put some goldfish in there as well. Those mosquitoes will keep those fish well nourished. We've had fish for years in some of our ponds that we've made ourselves, and you don't even have to feed them because the elements outside will. Okay, goldfish come a dime a dozen. You know, so you can get those from any pet store that sells fish. And make sure that you put that inside of this is for those who have open water reserves. I'm not talking about rain catchments where you're going to be using the water for your drinking inside of the house. I'm only talking about open water catchments for like in animal areas. Okay. Okay. So again, we're talking about solutions for the future for our young people. Okay. When you are home educating, you do not have to just deal with reading, writing, and arithmetic. You have to be very, very realistic. Very realistic in terms of what the future holds. Very realistic. The future is looking tripped out. It was prophesied to be tripped out. Incorporate that into your education. Ask your children questions. I don't care how young they are. Okay. Make sure they know where food comes from. Okay. I see young people all of the time when we look at certain garden videos, certain farm videos. They have their young people out there with them learning this stuff. That's right, Heather Gooch. That's the beauty of homeschooling. Your children learn so much. You too learn with them. Like I said, a lot of things that we work on with our children, with our students, we're learning together. There was a particular thing that we wanted to build that we had never built before. We got right on YouTube University together. We watched this and we were like, wow, because in our minds, we had purpose to do it a certain way. Okay. But we said, you know what? I like the way this particular person built this. This looks really good. And so we sat there, we actually watched it several times, and we even watched it during the building process. And might I add that the end result was so beautiful and very professional looking that, again, we all sat and learned together and we all made it happen together. That is the beauty of home education. That's the beauty of home education. And again, these are solution-based things. The more you can do for yourself, the less dependent you will be on others. So one of the things that we need to look to the future for is food. I like what Nicole Marie said, caring for the elderly. That's one of the things that we have on our docket as well. We've actually already reached out to some people. Some people are not ready yet. They're not ready for what you want to do, but still make sure that you are ready to help when the time comes. One of the things that we want to do is be able to plant small gardens for seniors, right? But in reaching out to some people, we actually had some say, well, you know what, we ain't really into vegetables. I said, wow, okay. Straight up, y'all. Straight up. But I think a lot of people will change as time wears on, and they'll realize that prices have gone up on things. And then I said, not even greens. I was really surprised because this was an older black couple. I said, not even greens. What about cabbage? And they were like, no, we meat and potatoes. I say, wow. Whoo. And I remember at our other land, we were talking to this guy who manages some land that's next to ours. And, you know, he asked what were our plans and everything. And when we told him what we were thinking about, he says he was a white guy. I wasn't offended by what he was saying because I had already seen that. But I said to myself, it's a trip that other people are paying attention to. But he says, I'm really surprised that black people are interested in growing food. He said, I don't mean any harm in saying that. He was saying that the black people that he knows in that community are just not interested in that. For a minute, I will admit, I was a little taken back by the comment. But then I said, you know what? The truth is what it is. We need to get back to basics, family. Because they always eyeballing us, always analyzing us, always keeping notes and stuff like that, right? Our lives are not meant to try to prove anything to them, but I do want our people to be a lot more realistic. I remember when I think it was Dave Bing in the city of Detroit, when he was talking about the need or the want, the desire to have more community gardens in the city of Detroit. I remember this dude came on this documentary about the topic, and and he was like, what we gonna be growing food for what? A black dude said that. He just go to the grocery store. I said, wow. Now this was more than maybe about 15 years ago. And I said to myself, that thinking is just I don't understand it.
I remember when I said something to someone about raising chickens.
Uh-huh.
And the person said, what am I raise chickens for? He said, when I could just go to the supermarket.
Exactly. I remember that. What am I going to raise chicken for? My husband was just reminding us of when we said something about raising chickens. And the person just said, hey, just go to the store, forget all of that, you know. But a lot of people have that mindset, and they better change it quickly because, I mean, even thinking about that statement and how long ago it was, how much does chicken cost now? How much does chicken cost now? To get one organic chicken, you might be out of $16, $20, $30 for one, depending on where you go. For one bird. Now imagine if you just had your own backyard coop. Okay, of course, if you live in a certain area, you might only be able to have like maybe 10 birds or whatever, but at least that'll keep you with a supply of eggs, because those are getting expensive too. But having solution-based conversations could also mean this. Maybe you don't have the space to house chickens and to take care of them, but why not get with somebody else who does? What if you come up with a plan and say, look, if we do this, if we do that. I've talked about churches that have a little bit of land. What if you got with a church that has a little bit of land and you say, let us take this region of the property, right, and plant a garden for the members or the community? To me, that is just too easy to do. So we are without excuse. Nicole Marie says she's getting a small plot in the urban city where she is going to be teaching gardening and preservation. That is awesome. That is what we need to be hearing and seeing more of. All praises to Yah said that they paid over $13 for a dozen of eggs. Let me just throw something out there at y'all real quick. Let me throw this out there. There are times when our chickens will give us 200 or 300 eggs in a week's time. Are y'all hearing me? 200 or 300 eggs. So that creates an opportunity for something to sell as well. Yas Loving Seed says there was a black woman that said she doesn't even go into the kitchen in her home for nothing. She refuses to cook. I thought, oh my, help her. Well, her help is in those hands of hers. If she don't get them to working, then, I don't know who's cooking for her now. But if she don't get them to working, when those restaurants shut down, if that's what she's doing, she gonna be hit. She gonna be hit. She better get in there and learn something. Thank you, Jacob Tovia. He says, teach the children to be less wasteful and cut down on meals. I know that's right. Right now, everybody think that they are entitled to 3 squares a day. 3 squares a day. This is why it's important that you grow enough stuff on your property. Imagine if you have some fruit trees. Okay. Go get a peach, baby. Go get yourself a pear. Go get some of those figs. Sometimes I would just take the figs off of the tree and I would just walk them over to people. Say, here's your fig. Here's your fig. Just walk them. Hey, they tasting good. They real ripe right now. Here you go. That's what you got to do. And we do have to learn how to cut back. Learn how to cut back or grow. Because when you grow your own food, you can go out there. And sometimes my children, they would grab themselves a tomato, grab themselves a lettuce leaf, grab themselves a piece of this or a piece of that. They wrap it up and say, here's my chipotle. And then they would just eat it, LaShawn Rush says, what are your suggestions for growing food and having farm animals for families that move frequently? Okay. Just had to take a sip of tea. Well, anytime you have restrictions with growing, container gardening is always a good method. Let me tell you all what I saw one time, and this really, really impressed me. Someone had a mobile greenhouse, right? A mobile greenhouse. That inspired me. I wanted to make one just to be making it because I was so impressed by it. If you look up a mobile greenhouse, you will see that there are a number of different people who have created those. And I wanted to make one just to be making it because it was something so interesting to me. And I still might see if that's a project that we can work on. Okay. All day, everyday preparedness says one thing that's worked for them is to inventory every grocery in the house. That way we only buy what you need and you know what meals you can cook and plan for. That's an excellent idea. That's something that we have done as well. We have areas of food storage. We say, look, this stuff is off limits. This is future stuff right here. This is only to be looked at. Okay. This is the space right here that we eat from. Outside of what's in the kitchens, this is the space of things that we eat from. Okay. So if any of this is getting low, instead of going into our reserves, we just go shopping again for the things that we're getting low on. This is how you have to live and how you have to think, family, because things are getting tough in the future. Okay. Now, more solution-based things. I'm going to suggest that anyone who has any space to grow food, that you may want to consider growing a bunch of beans. For LaShawn Rush, beans are something that you can grow in containers as well. Okay. You can grill those in containers as well. One thing I want to say about beans is it can provide a whole lot of nourishment and it makes you full. I would suggest growing black beans and chickpeas or garbanzo beans. Of course, you can grow any bean you want, but I say those because those can provide for you a really tasty vegan burger. One of these days, I'm going to share my recipe for vegan burgers. On my day to cook, we have such a large family that we all have a day, right? And those of us who are of cooking age, that is. But on my day, I like to make either some type of soup, some type of bean dish, vegetable dish, and then bean burgers, right? The family loves when I do the bean burgers because it's like you won't miss a meat burger if you have that. Sometimes people think that a bean burger, what are you talking about? Give it a try. Trust and believe. Once you dress it up with the lettuce and the tomatoes, right? You can put onions on it. I actually put the onions and bell pepper inside of my bean burgers, right? And I put other things in there as well. Once you dress it up with all of that, the ketchup and the mustard, the mayo, if that's something you eat, trust and believe that it tastes good. We even put vegan cheese on ours. We use gluten-free bread, Watchman and I, and my mom, and one of our children. Everybody else uses regular organic bread, or we make our own bread, our own flat bread or whatever. It depends on what we got going on that day. But trust and believe that my bean burgers, sometimes I make them with only chickpeas. Sometimes I make them only with black beans, and sometimes I make them with both of them mixed together. But it's the other ingredients that I put in that really makes the burger slamming, if you know what I mean. Okay, so I want to say this. I've said this over the years, but I want you all to keep this in mind. Solution-based conversations for the future. Please, 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 if you can, find a person, a family, or a group of people that you can work with for solution-based things for the future. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? A person, a family, or a group. This is what we need to be doing. Someone says all these ideas can be added to the green book. Okay. Again, I'm going to have to look that green book up. Someone said sweet potato fries. Sweet potato fries. Looks like the green book is a movie too. Okay. The green book. Okay, then I see one. The green book, the Fool, the Negro Motorist green book. Okay, so this is some type of survival book. All right. Okay. So can someone summarize what the green book is for me? Let me click on this link that All Praises to Yah has dropped here. Save that to take a peek at later. Okay, I see the Negro Motorist Green Book. Okay, that is what I saw in when I did a Google search. Okay, a list of safe locations. Yeah, that's something very important as well. Okay. That's something very important as well. We as a people, we need to put our heads together. I see a lot of foolishness online. We all do. Okay. And I wish people would just think about other things too. It's more, of course, we have to deal with certain things that are happening in our communities. That's what this particular ministry is all about. The scripture tells us to cry aloud and spare not and lift up our voices like trumpets in Zion and show our people their transgressions. We try to do that because foolishness is failing us right now. This is what's going on. Okay? This is what is going on. But we do have to address foolishness from time to time. But we also need to come back and say, look, what are we going to do about the future? What does the future hold? We need these future-based conversations. See, it's not just about food even, y'all. One of the things that we need to try to get a grip on too is water. So even if you have a well, we have a well, and we also have water catchments, right? And we're going to be putting that also on all of our animal buildings and any building that we can catch water on. We're going to be doing just that. But what we need to understand too is there are other ways of generating water. How do we do that? I wish that some of these people who are making all of these foolish videos online would make some videos on that. What do we do about water? Because the scripture tells us the earth is drying up and that the sun is going to scorch the earth. So SB says you can get water from your fruits and vegetables. Absolutely, that is true. But here's the thing. If you don't have enough water to water those fruits and vegetables, that's going to stunt their growth. Okay, so water filtration, that is another thing. Only says how to filter water. These are the things we need to be talking about. How do you filter water to clean it, to make it drinkable? So we have this pond out here. All of this water, all of the fish, right? If it ever came a time where something happened to where we couldn't have access to water from our well or any other thing happened, how do we make that water drinkable? So we do have those drinking straws. We do have the Berkey system. Okay. We do have that. But we also need to know and understand how do you create water. Some people are using condensation to create water. Condensation. How do you do that? This is what we need to be talking about. Solution-based conversation. Also, housing. Housing. Now, I've talked about this before. Last year sometime. If you're paying attention, a lot of people are losing their homes. They are losing their homes. Y'all hear what I'm saying? A lot of people are losing their homes, whether they're renting or whether their mortgage is being defaulted on. That being said, alternative ways of living. It's a solution-based thing that we need to talk about more and more. So Sister Cece shared a link with us to Amazon. I want to read this to you. It says Shungite, protection, healing, and detoxification. So that is another thing that we need to, oh my goodness, definitely need to be talking about. How do we detoxify? Because when you think about living healthy, if you have to move or do something, you want to be able to move about freely without restrictions because your body is breaking down. So keeping our body healthy is one of those things. Nicole Marie says charcoal can filter water. Yes, we've purchased that as well for filtering water. We are trying to find a place where we can get it in bulk instead of the small amount that we get for the money that we're paying for it, but getting it in bulk, right? Getting it in bulk. But back to the solution-based options for homes. One thing that we thought about, and we want to put it to the test as well. Yes, that's a good one too. Better get a van. You can live in it just in case. That's right, Sister Cece. Okay. I've shown some van life videos here as well, where there are people literally living in their vans. They have accommodations for showering, bathing. Well, not really bathing, but washing themselves and drinking water and all kinds of things, right? It may not be the best option, but it is an option. Okay. Now, the one thing I wanted to talk about, I see your comment too, Nicole Marie. You can buy sheds at Home Depot. I don't necessarily like Home Depot sheds, only because the materials are very, very cheap. The ones that I've seen. Okay. Very, very cheap compared to the ones where we've had from local builders. We compared, and oh my goodness, it's a huge difference. A huge difference. But what I wanted to talk about are the little cargo trailers. Now, we have a cargo trailer that we use for our food ministry. We want to implement that as soon as possible for taking fresh produce to locations that will accept it. Okay. Fresh produce. When we get to that point, for now, it can be utilized for just taking, excuse me, just any canned goods or dried goods that you may have. I don't know if anyone remembers at the bar. How are you doing if you have about a black man called Moses that made? Yep, that's right. Yeah, I was loving. I did do a video where I featured the black guy called Moses who made water out of air. She says that they found tools we can use to make water out of air on YouTube. So that is something we need to be getting into. But back to the cargo trailers. I've seen people dress those up, and they will have flip up bunk style beds. They'll have a small mini kitchen, a very small bathroom for refreshing yourself. And they are small enough and light enough to be pulled around by a regular vehicle. A regular vehicle, meaning you don't need a pickup truck. You don't need a big, massive van, but a regular vehicle. And a lot of people make them to where they look very, very covert. So they make it into like a mini house or a mini apartment on wheels that you can take with you wherever you go. Now, right now, that may not sound appealing at all. It may not sound appealing at all, but I've seen some people deck some out really, really nice as a solution for doing just that. One of the projects we had our young people work on, our students, our children, this past summer, they took an old trailer that we had. The trailer was or is 6x12. And they built a complete shed on top of it. Really nice looking shed too. We have a window at the rear of it and a door. And so if someone really had to, the way they build it, it could be a small living quarters, 6x12. Now, we didn't build it for that purpose. We built it so we can store our bird food in it. Okay. But the point I'm trying to make is this. As a part of their home education, as a part of homeschool, we gave them that project. They were excited to do it. It's been a long time coming. We've been wanting to do it for a while, but we finally knuckled down and say, hey, let's do this thing. Let's do it. They did it, and they are so proud of their work. Those of you who say, well, I don't know how to teach my children how to do that. Guess what? You have platforms like Udemy, even YouTube University, where a lot of good instruction is given on how to do things just like that. We need to start preparing the next generation for the future. This is very important, family. Preparing them for the future. Have these solution-based conversations with your children, with your grandchildren. Nicole Marie says she tried to tell her family to practice carpentry skills by building out a shed to a tiny house in the backyard. Hopefully they will do it. You know, I really hope that our people don't wait until it's too late and start trying to do things. We really need to start putting our hands to it and just doing it. We really need to start doing this. It's important that we don't wait for the crap to just hit the fan and then we just running around here and there trying to do things. We don't need to do that. The king's daughter said, depending on the size dehumidifier, you can pull 1.5 to 3 gallons of water from the air each day for watering plants or distill it for drinking. That's an excellent idea. Or run it through the Berkey too. If you have a Berkey, run it through there and you get clean water on the other side. Solution-based conversations. So y'all know that they are looking at transportation and they have a target point on completely eliminating vehicles that are operated by fuel. Okay. In terms of not making those kinds of vehicles anymore. Okay. That being said, they're trying to get everything electric. So we've got to get our minds acclimated for that as well. When that happens, that's going to limit our abilities to get around. So we need to keep in mind a number of things. What is life going to look like if they limit our ability to get around? What is life going to look like? Nanib 10 says, get electric bikes or scooters. You know, years ago, we had already started getting old electric golf carts used. They have served us well. Even with those, however, they are migrating to lithium battery operated. So we've checked around to see about getting our old golf carts converted to lithium. Not sure if it's possible for all of them, but that's definitely a way to go as well. Some golf carts that are way cheaper, than other vehicles. Some of them are road ready. So that may be something to consider as well, especially some of them do have multiple seating. Okay, some do have multiple seating. Cece says better get an all-terrain bike. She got one and put it in the layaway because it's $600. There was another bike that someone recently had that we saw. It kind of reminds me of the Flintstones, where it seats 4 people and it's human operated, meaning everyone that's on the bike pedals to get it going. And so I said that may be something to consider as well. Solution-based conversations. What are we going to do if next year or the year after or 5 to 10 years from now, things are not the same? What are we going to do? I'm going to keep on pushing the whole idea of unification in the spirit, of course, because you don't want to try to get together with a bunch of people who aren't going to pull their own weight, or a bunch of people who just want to come along for your ride, but they ain't trying to help you with nothing, right? Or a bunch of people who are going to be dead weight. Now, it's different when we're talking about our seniors. That's totally different. But what I find, even with my mom, is that she will help put the seeds and things in the cups and the trays. You see, she helps with cutting up vegetables and things of that nature when it's time to. And she even has her own garden area as well, doing what she can. Right. What I'm talking about, however, are young people who just want to do their thing. They want the safety of being a part of a group, but they don't want to put forth their effort to do what it is they want to do. Like Abby B said, a bunch of people watching you prepare and relying on you to let them in. V. Hannah says it takes a strong village working together. That's absolutely right. A strong village working together. That's what it's going to take. All day, every day preparedness says, in all honesty, in the future is back to horse and buggy. For us, we will live apart from this beast system that's coming, Back to the old ways, no buying or selling unless you're a part of the system. And so we thought about that as well. I'm not really sure we want to do the horse and buggy thing, only because we're not sure how to take care of horses. Okay. We were looking at a couple of donkeys in the Nashville area. But we're just, we're one of our concerns, which was the same concern that the person who has the donkey is having. I just want to make sure that if we have an animal that large, that we can take care of it properly. Because getting animals to vets may not even be a thing that you can handle as well. Being able to get them to the vet. So, Abby B says she tries to encourage anyone around her to garden. She says, I always tell them, start small, but they never listen. Maybe one day they will start while they have time. Hopefully that can be the case. Heather Gooch says horses can be expensive. Yes, exactly. That was one of our concerns too. How expensive it is to take care of them, and they can be dangerous too if you don't know what to do. Where we used to live, there was a farmer who had horses for years, and I guess he made the wrong move. He got behind the horse. The horse kicked him in his chest so hard it killed him. And so, me not being a horse person, none of us being horse people, I'm not really sure that I want to take that risk at this time. But those who are comfortable with it, all day, everyday preparedness just might be comfortable with that sort of thing. I would encourage you all to go to their channel as well. Go to their channel. They have, of course, you can just tell by their name, all day, everyday preparedness. Just looking at that name, you can tell that they have some things that they are sharing with people and teaching people about. If you can, I guess I can search it. I was going to say resend that email that you sent to us some time ago. Sometimes they get lost in the sauce when so many people contact us. They kind of get away from us. But just looking on the channel, I mean, there's information about all kinds of things on here. I look forward to getting into it myself. But anyway, y'all, I think I need to go ahead and wrap things up this morning. This particular thing that I'm talking about today, it just came to my mind that we need to talk about this because, behind the scenes, we are working on a number of things, right? We are working on a number of things with the understanding that things have changed already on this planet. With the understanding that the Bible tells us these changes are coming, right? With the understanding that faith without works is dead. You got a lot of people out here talking about, I have faith, I trust the Most High, this, that, and the third. Guess what? We trust the Most High too. We trust His word as well. His word tells us faith without works is dead. So we can't afford to sit in the seat of do nothing. Now, even if you have, your own family, our efforts are not just for our own family. Anyone that the Most High puts in our path and lays on our heart to be a blessing to, we will do that. We will do that. And I think if more of us had that mindset, even if people right now look at you like you're crazy, like, oh, you don't need to be doing that. And, why are you focusing on that? Or just go to the store, or just things ain't got that bad. Even if people are looking at you like that, it's going to change. It's going to change. At some point, people are going to be looking at you like, oh, I see. I get it. I get it. Hopefully it won't be too late when they finally get it. Hopefully they will have some time to gain some ground. Right? I was looking at a video the other day on the Epic Gardening channel. He was talking about some of the people who work for him who are just now starting out, and they are doing exceptionally well. He says, "Y'all, you're just now starting your gardening. This is you've done this for the first time when you came to work for us, right?" And she says, "Yeah." So he was touring her garden, and he was showing all of the amazing things that she got done in a short amount of time. Now, Cecil Reed asks, when is it too late? Well, I feel like as long as you have breath in your body, that you can do something. But it can get to a point where it's gotten so bad and things have gotten so far gone to where you may not have access to buy certain things. This is why we tell people, don't just be spending your money frivolously on just nothing. Make sure that you're spending your money on things that are going to be worthwhile, things that are going to be beneficial. Make sure that you are spending your money on that. That would be seeds. That would be water reserves, canned goods. Now, I'm going to say this. Some of you may or may not agree with this. Okay. When we buy our canned goods, because we started this a long time ago, we do try to get things that are organic. Okay. But you may not have that as an option. So when it comes to reserves, get what you can. Get what you can. Terry Felix asks, where do we get our seeds from? If you go to Amazon, they have a lot of growers that sell organic, non-GMO heirloom seeds. Just type up any one of those non-GMO heirloom or organic seeds on Amazon. Anytime we go and we see seeds on clearance at the end of the season, we get those. We have a ton of seeds at this point. And it is our hope that some will say, look, we don't mind starting a garden and you all helping us. We would hope that would be something that people will get around to. Okay. But again, we're going to just keep the reserves until the time comes, because we do see the need. Look at the image on the screen, y'all. Look at that image. That image tells it all. It tells you what things are going to be looking like. Yes, we do can and jar foods. We're going to get back into it more frequently. We do have things that we have canned and jarred ourselves. But keep in mind that those foods that you can and jar yourselves are foods that you're going to eat for the next season. You can and jar them during the harvest season, so that you can eat them during the winter seasons until you are able to grow more food to can and jar again. They're not really meant to store for years and years and years. Some things can be, but some things are really meant for you to grow during harvest time. Can or jar during harvest time to be eaten during the winter season. Cece says Whole Foods and Home Depot sell organic right now, as well as Walmart. Lowe's as well. We got a huge run on some organic seeds from Lowe's last season. I mean, it was so huge. It was unbelievable. I believe there were 10 cents to 25 cents a pack, okay, for those seeds. And you can best believe we stood there. It took us a long time. We were standing there more than an hour, because they had to scan each individual pack and put the coupon or the discount code in there. We said, that's all right, we got time. We stood there and watched it happen. Nanib 10 says freeze-dried food lasts for 25 years. That's right. It can be very expensive to purchase. And even if you try to do it yourself, there are home versions of the freeze-drying machines, but they are so expensive and you can't do enough. It takes a certain amount of time to do it, or instead the dehydrating machines I'm thinking about. Anyway, I do know that they're expensive. The machines are expensive either way it goes. Okay, Cecil Reed says, their lateness will be late to do anything, just in the days of Noah. Sorry for the misinterpretation. And okay, so Yeah, there's definitely a cutoff time for things. Definitely. You can get to the point where you've waited too long and the door can close. The door can close. No ability to buy seeds. You haven't gotten a piece of land. I've talked to people about even getting city lots, and someone mentioned in the chat, you can get yourself a city lot. Who knows what restrictions might be lifted when things get really rough? Let me tell you what I mean by that. Who knows if they will lift restrictions for being able to put a small trailer on a city lot if things get really rough. Not saying that they have, but they just may do something like that if things get really rough. So anyway, family, again, I am thankful that you all decided to come and join in on this live with us. I always enjoy doing lives. I know it's going to take me longer when I do them, but that is okay. That is okay. That's right, SB, like the foolish virgins, do not wait. Wise man Zoe says, do you know of the nation of Israel? Is that an organization? A ministry? I'm not sure what you're asking there. Pentagon Maroc says an old school bus is the best to modify for a mobile home. Yes, I've seen those transformations as well. I've seen those as well. Jay Lisa says candles are getting very expensive as well. That is true. That is true. Years ago, we had found a source where we got a ton of candles, and we've been using them for years too. Liz says too many people leaning on two people and not wanting to help, but wanting to benefit. No more, I say. So, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Okay, so you're saying they're based in Detroit. Okay, Wise Man Zoe, I want to take a look at that. Detroit is definitely our old stomping ground. We spent a good majority of our life there, so of course, yes. We'll take a look at that. If you have a link to their organization, that would be great. But yeah, to the young lady who said about people leaning, yeah, you definitely want to surround yourself with realistic people. Don't get surrounded by a bunch of people who just want to be there in the safety of what you're doing, but don't want to lend a hand, don't want to do anything. And they want to talk about this and talk about that, but they are not there to help. Make sure that you pray to the Most High concerning anyone that you are planning on bringing around you, bringing around your family. If it's just you, be very careful, because there are people with those. You don't want to just be surrounded by warm bodies. That ain't enough. Right? That is not enough. And unrealistic people think that you should, they think that you should just take them on just because you got brown skin and they do too. Chine Moss Farm says that they converted an old van into a chicken coop. So that is an awesome idea. We converted an old travel trailer into a coop for our pigeons. Yeah, we converted one many years ago into a coop for our pigeons, and it was really, really nice. We still have it. We've since relocated the pigeons. I'm going to subscribe to your channel, Chine Moss Farm. But we've since taken the pigeons out of there, and we may put some other birds in there, like maybe some quail, or maybe not quail, maybe some silky chickens, only because some snakes, we figured out how they were getting in, so we've dealt with that, but they were getting our little smaller birds. And so We said you definitely have to make sure these things are secure. They were coming in through a drain hole, so we've since fixed all of that. But we had to take our pigeons out because we created a way for them to get out, to be able to fly around and come back in at night. But they were getting caught by hawks, so we put them in an area to where they cannot get out. And yeah, willing, of course, we want to redo their area, give them another area. For those of you who don't know, pigeons are a biblical bird that you can eat. And a lot of people right away will say, ooh, pigeons? Yes, pigeons. You can eat pigeons. You can eat pigeons. And guess what, y'all? They taste good, too. They taste good. Clarence Rogers says that they showed their fourth grade class the Whited Out series, and the kids really enjoyed it. So that we actually promote that when we talk to people. We promote it as a Black History series, because we would talk to various churches about the documentary. When it first came out, Whited Out Part 1, we would talk to them, and we said, you know what, wisdom says we can't tell them exactly what it's about, because sometimes our people will reject it. But when we said that this is a Black history documentary, they were more willing to accept it. And so when they get in there, they see the truth for what it is, right? Scripture says, he that winneth souls is wise. Yvonne asks a question. Can you buy pack of seeds now and plant them later? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, Yvonne. You can do that. Just make sure that you keep them in a cool, dry location. A cool, dry location. And make sure that you're planting them during the season that they can be planted. That's right, Arlene Foster. Pigeons and doves, they're actually in the same family. Some of our white pigeons look so beautiful, they remind us of doves. They actually really look like them too. But yes, you can buy seeds now and plant them later. Just make sure that you're keeping them in a dry location. So I am going to have to go ahead and scoot, because we do have some things that we need to get into. But I thank you all again for joining us. Love you all very much. I want you to enjoy the rest of your day. Until next time, we're out.